that's what I'm using, the stereo system, and I used to use the Bose speaker here.
I know you love music.
I do like having a little music, but now that, you know, we're still online, it's a lot simpler to just speak with you and then have music for Shavasana.
You can put it on at the end, and then we'll go out. So.
You can just complain after class about Shavasana. It's all good.
If it feeds your soul, go for it.
I like it. I like it. All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, welcome everyone to Yin class today. We've got a few bolster or props today. We've got a nice big bolster blanket, a couple of blocks, and we're going to start getting ready for spring. We're going to start energizing our bodies for spring today. So in Ayurveda, for anyone that's a little familiar with Ayurveda, it's sort of like the medical system for yoga in a sense, right? And it goes back thousands of years. There's this concept called Ritu Sandhi. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that properly, but I may be off. But Ritu Sandhi, which is the time between seasons. So like that period between winter and spring, spring and summer, and it's about a 2-week period where it's a good time for us to check in and just start to adjust things in our lives. So we get very habituated in our, you know, ways of doing things and the seasons and eating certain foods and moving certain ways. And this is a time to kind of prepare the body for the next season so we can simplify our foods. That's one way of doing it. And that doesn't mean, in our culture, we think of like detoxing as not eating, right? But it's more about simplifying and allowing the digestion to have a little easier time. And then today what we're going to do is use some of these concepts of the meridian lines in traditional medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and the organs that help us transition. So we're also going to add a little heat. So we're going to add a little of the fire element from Chinese medicine, which is the heart and small intestine. So this activation that we do at the beginning of class, that's what we're going to tap into today. So for Terry and Charlotte, who are new today to this class, the beginning of class is active, and then I promise you we get into Yin. Linda knows what we're doing. She's like, I'm ready. So it's a technique called fascial stretching. And so it's working the connective tissue in the body to help hydrate it, release it, because it lays down and gets kind of stuck. And when we do, we affect the meridian lines in the body, but we also help move the muscles better. We open the joints and take the pain out of the joint spots in the body. So, just so I'm not doing too much talking, we're going to get started. We're going to begin on our backs and do a little check-in in the body. So come on down to your backs, knees bent, feet on the mat. Yeah. Feet on the mat. And take a couple of breaths and drop in, settle in. We're here, right? We made it to class, online, in studio, so just let everything settle. And feel the weight of your body on the mat. Bring the attention to any spots that you want to perhaps give a little extra care and sensitivity to today. Always observing that in Yin, we find an appropriate stress on the tissues, not overdoing it. And then find your breath. Connect with the inhale coming through the nose, down the throat, into the lower centers. See if you can find the very initiation of the breath, the very beginning. And then notice the very end. And then notice those brief pauses in between. Stay with the breath and just observe it for a few more counts. Not trying to change it, but just really noticing it. Then just let's take a couple of deeper inhales together. So let's take a cleansing inhale through the nose. Let it go through the mouth. And now let's take on a count of 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And pause. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And pause. Good. Just let that fade away. Bring your arms to cactus alongside your shoulders, backs of the hands, reaching for the floor, meeting the floor. Just notice how that feels in the shoulders. Lift your hands off the floor, rotating through the shoulder, bringing the palms down toward your waist. And they may not meet the floor. Notice your range of motion. Lift hands off the floor again, rotating, bringing backs of the hands. We're checking in. So just notice where your hands are meeting at the bottom and the top, and any sensitivity, soreness in the shoulders. I'm going to check in again at the end of class. Good. Pause. Let the hands relax. Turn the head side to side. Just a little left and right, noticing the neck. And any spots that are speaking to you. Good. Now bring your hands down to your hip points. Front of the hips. Take an arch of the back, so tilting the pelvis forward. Notice if there's any pulling in the low back. And then rounding through, so tilting the pelvis the other way and the back meets the floor. And see if you can notice if the hips are shifting, one lifting up more on the left or the right. So I can notice I have some imbalance on the right side in the sense that I have a little pulling in the low back and it's not allowing that right hip to rotate fully forward. So just notice if you can sense into anything in your body here. Good. And then we pause at center. Just relax there for a moment. Good. And now we're going to make our way to a seated and begin that active work. So you can rock and roll up or roll over to the side and come to your mat. We can begin in tabletop. Placing our hands under our shoulders, knees under the hips. We begin by pressing the hands into the floor. So feel that engagement of pressing down into the floor. Roll your tailbone under and arch your back. So we have a nice hollow front. Pushing hands in and try to squeeze them towards one another. With that activation, send your hips back. It's It's different movement. I know it feels very different, but just stick with it. So we're pressing our hands into the floor together and then sending hips back. Release and set up again. So we have 4 sort of points to connect with here. Our starting position, which is our hands under our shoulders. And then we find the resistance, so squeezing hands together and into the floor. And then we move in the opposite direction, so moving to lengthen the muscles in the pecs and bicep. And then we relax and set up again. So release the resistance each time so that the muscles have a chance to relax in between. What we're doing here with this resistance, it's like cleaning up the fascia from the inside out. So the fascia, when we elongate the muscle with resistance, we affect this connective tissue. And it's like exfoliating it in a sense, brushing out the dense tissue so we can free up the muscles. So keep squeezing hands down and in, and little pulses back with the hips. This is the heart meridian in Chinese medicine. So if you're feeling that your body's heating up, warming up, this is the fire element associated with summer. So we're warming up the body, getting it stoked for spring, and changing the tissues. Good, let's do 2 more here. Squeezing down and in. And now a few where you're trying to pull your hands towards your knees. Keep the activation, keep pushing down, and now try to pull your hands towards your knees, as if you could swish them back. But you're not, and you're using that resistance to pull your body back. Keep the tailbone under, draw the ribs up. And last 1. Good. Shake out the arms. It's different, right? Yeah. It's different. So now find a block to sit on. And we're going to work the balancing muscle group for that area of the body, which is the back of the shoulders, the small intestine. So we sit on a block, place our feet on the floor, bring our feet wide. Elbows come between our knees. This one's nice because we use our legs to help us out. Pressing the palms together, we find that resistance of pressing palms together. Knees are pressing into elbows, elbows into knees. Keep that pressure between the hands and then use the knees to bring the elbows together. Release, start again. So you're noticing perhaps that the back of the shoulders are really lighting up. And this is going to help with tension in the back of the neck, the shoulders. Also, this particular move helps to mobilize the cerebral spinal fluid. So it's also a really nice one for just the spine and low back. So keep pressing those knees into the elbows and pulsing up. Release each time. Squeeze at the beginning. And then bring hands up, stop. When you start to feel you lose your resistance, you stop, you release, you reset. Yep, breathe naturally. However your breath wants to move, let it move. Lots of heat building, yeah? Good. I'm already feeling my neck free up with this. I love it. Good. And let's do a few quicker. So just take it a little quicker, a little less resistance. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And now bring your hands overhead. Elbows are still wide. Keep that resistance between the hands and just bring your elbows in. Okay. I'm going to come around the class. Keep with it. Okay, sister, right? Yeah. Just bring your elbows a little higher. Press out into my hands. Good. Look at that. Look at the tension in that fascia. There we go. All right? Release. Good. Yeah. Good. One more time there. And you can take a break whenever you want. Can I assist you? feel that? Feel that? Resist. But is it okay? It's not painting, right? Yep. And this is all of these patterns. Our fascia builds up all these layers of sticky stuff. We're going to notice change there. Yeah, good. Resist. Cool. Push your elbows into my hands. Feel all that resistance, so ease up a little bit. You can resist a lot. Ease up a little. There we go. The fascia is stronger than muscle, so push, not so much. Not so much. Good. Not so much. Holy smokes, girl. And again, resist out to my hands. Push elbows in. Good. That's a little less. More than that, go to find that medium ground. Push out here into my hands. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Again, if you resist full force, you won't be able to move. Oh, I see. Because the fascia is very strong. It's stronger than steel. Good. Good stuff. Good one, right? All right, guys, come back to just relaxing the arms. Take a break. We're feeling that, right? Let's just enjoy the movement of chi after that. So just close your eyes. Let the temperature of your body regulate here, but we're feeling lots of heat after working that fire element, so that's really nice. Let it all settle down. And then we're going to begin our first yin pose in just a moment. I really want our bodies to regulate here before we begin. Good. Let's blink eyes open. And we're going to set up our bolster for saddle. And if you don't want saddle, I'm going to give you some options here to prop and support yourself. So I'm just going to set up my bolster like that step where we bring one block on low height, second block on the second height, bring the bolster to lay on top. And then some of us love saddles, some of us don't, right? So you sit back on your heels and then begin to lean back on the prop. But if that's a lot, then we're going to bring another block under the seat and build us up. So let's bring some blocks here, just in case we need another one. So if we bring a block under our seat, it can help create a little more space for the knees. And we can also bring the blanket folded lengthwise and prop that right behind the pit of the knee and bring a little space for the knee. And then that makes this situation a lot more comfortable. And then tuck the pelvis slightly, find your way back. Now, my quads are not feeling this today. It's just a lot for me to come back. So I'm just going to stay here. Or I will give you the option to go one leg at a time. If we do that, it makes the pose easier, a little more accessible. So perhaps starting with just the right leg bent, and then scooching your pelvis under and making your way back on the bolster. So now for me, I have more mobility there. How's that feeling, Linda? Okay? Not great? I'm going to get you another bolster. It's a big one. We're working the stomach meridian here. Yeah, let's get you up. Yeah. We're going to put another one here for you. Yeah, try that now. Is that better? Is it sustainable for you? Yeah. Yeah, you feel it there. Yeah. So let's just put you can also put that under your knee. Ladies, another bolster? I'm not sure. All right. So let's do one leg at a time. Let's start with our left leg extended, right leg out. Yeah, I know it's a lot of finagling to get into a posture sometimes, isn't it? It's my technical term for it. There. And then you can try putting a blanket on your knee. Is that okay? Yeah. If it's too much, come out of it. Or do not lay all the way back on the bolster. It's a big pose, so if this is enough, this is enough, right? You guys can stay right there and just don't force the body into it. So I'm just gonna start the time. Is it hurting your knee?
Just everything hurts, but.
Okay. Yeah, so
I think I'd better just sit.
Do that.
Like this.
Do
Yeah,
that.
It's too much for me.
It's too much,
Lay-
yeah.
lay back. I can do some, like I can do this.
So start there,
Yeah.
and then if the
Maybe
body feels like it's opening up and you can recline, then do that after. Yeah, we're gonna be here for a couple of minutes, and this is opening up the front of the thigh. Obviously, we're feeling that, right? And it's also connected to the stomach meridian in Chinese medicine. So in Chinese medicine, the stomach is sort of connected to in-between seasons as well. Each season we find we have like a little in-between time, and the gut is very related to that time. Good. When you arrive, be with what's okay. Like it's okay to come out of the pose. It's okay to adjust. We want to stress here that's sustainable. We want to feel like we can hold this. There's some pulling, there's some tension, but it's not pain. We never want pain in the yin, because then what happens is there's little micro tears and the body's going to go back in and repair it, and we're not going to feel good. So just a sustainable stress, and then allow the breath to guide you through. Feel this line of energy down the front of the thigh, moving into the torso. Breathe into it, notice it softening very naturally over time. Also enjoying a little bit of a back bend here. And that's compressing the kidneys, which we're in winter, so we're still affecting the kidneys associated with this time of year. We still want to bring a little bit of energy and nourishment to those organs. So you can imagine the kidneys now receiving new fresh blood, movement of fluids, as well as stimulating this line in the front of the body. Good. We're just about ready to switch sides. So take another couple of breaths here. And really guide yourself slowly out of this shape. So inhale. On your exhale, draw your elbows and hands back towards your chest, closer to your chest. And then begin to lift up slowly. Lean over to the left to release that right foot. And if you're doing both sides, you can take a break. You can come out and take a break or just switch sides. And then lean to the right and bend the left knee, supporting as you need. I feel like I need a little more on this side with the blanket. And then lowering yourself back once more. Again, this side may be different, so you may need more support. You may not want to go back all the way. I don't, so I'm going to stay right here and honor the fact that my tissues on this side are asking not to be overstressed, not to push. Yeah, I like the adaptations. Good stuff. Yeah. So now we're in this space of the posture that becomes challenging, where we just hold in the quiet, in the stillness. Allow the body to accept this time. Notice the breath moving and how that awareness of the inhale, exhale keeps you focused, keeps you very present when the mind wants to tell us stories. Really nourishing this front line of tissue, bringing energy to the digestion, the gut health. Another 20 seconds or so here. This is our hardest pose of the day, so after this, it all gets easier. Take a final inhale. Exhale, and again slowly begin to shift back up. And slowly lean to the right to release the left leg. Extend both legs and take a moment to notice. So this is sort of the juicy stuff in between. We don't want to skip it. Really notice what's happening in the body. Blinking eyes open. And now we're going to come and sit on a soft block, or you can fold your blanket just to prop up the hips slightly. So just sitting on something to help lengthen the spine. If we're not on anything, the spine tends to do this. And then if we prop up on some support and shift the hips off the support, it helps to bring length into the spine. And we're going to come to straddle, saddle and straddle today. So legs are long. And let's bring our blocks on either side of our right leg, like so. Notice the edge you have on the inner thighs. If it's very intense, once again, soften the edge, bring the legs together slightly. And we begin on the right side, twisting over to the right leg. We can stay right here with our hands propped on the blocks, or maybe we lower down onto the forearms and allow the head to hang here. If that's a lot on the neck, you can bring a bolster for your head and maybe situate it on your foot or the floor to support your head. But it's nice to have a little dangle here, just let the head hang. So we're going to hold this shape for a couple of minutes. Once again, connecting with the kidney meridian line, which runs through the inner thighs here. And enjoying a twist. Twist for the digestive system, As we twist, we feel more sensation on the inner left groin. So if you need to soften the edge of that leg, just walk the leg in slightly so that we can hold the pose without too much stress once again. You can really allow the hands to dangle off the tops of the blocks, allowing the fingertips to drip down towards the floor. Maybe bringing your focus to the softness of your hands here. Dripping like water. Think of the breath moving fluidly like water. And the hands as if there's water dripping off the fingertips towards the floor. Softness. Take an inhale here. Exhale. Begin to lift the head. Walk your torso back up. Head over heart. We pause at center. And then you can keep that block on the outside of your left leg here. And bring your, right leg, bring your right arm down to support the arm here on that block. And then option to lift the left arm up and dangle over your head. Now if that doesn't feel good in the shoulder, just bring your hand down. Maybe you can bring it behind your seat and tuck it in under your right glute. I like that option too because it feels nice in the neck here. So just wrap that left hand under, tuck it under the right glute, on top of your prop, your blanket or your block for your seat. And you feel some nice opening down the left side of the neck. So kind of your option, which you want to take here for the arm, the neck. And if you're holding your arm overhead, maybe allow it to sink down onto your head, if you can, so that you release the muscle activity in the arm. In these yin poses, we want to allow the muscles to relax as much as possible so that we move into those deeper yin tissues, the bones, the connective tissues. And when the muscles are tense, we have a harder time moving into those zones. Allowing the breath to be your guide here now. Noticing any areas where you may be tensing, maybe in the eyes or the jaw. Maybe that right hand on the block, soften. Soften right shoulder. Soften the left leg if it's tensing, gripping. Just another couple cycles of breath here. And we take an inhale. Exhale, prepare to exit very slowly, making our way back up to center. Pause, notice after effects. Close your eyes, notice those little pulses, flushes in the body. Blinking eyes open and bringing those blocks on the outside of the left leg now. So we take it to the other side. We just begin at center with a long spine, and then begin to twist from the rib cage over the left leg, deciding whether we want to stay upright, absolutely fine, or come down to the forearms and allow those fingers, hands to drip off the blocks once again, and perhaps the head hangs down towards the chest. Maybe on this side you're finding you have more space in the neck now to dangle. Be with wherever you are, not with where you think you should be in this pose. How you think it should look. Be with where you are. Connect with any little sounds in your body, perhaps in the stomach, any sensations. Soften the right shoulder if it's gripping. Cue the jaw to relax. Fluid breath. On your next inhale, trace that breath in your mind's eye. Trace the inhale in through the nose, into the belly, and then exhale, begin to lift up the torso. Take a pause. Then you can move that block at center if you want, and then just keep the one outside the left leg. And once again, we come down the back of the arm on the block this time. And then the right arm lifts up and just hangs out on your head, over your head. Or wrap it around your back, tuck it under, lift up your left glute and tuck it under. And just enjoy that opening down the right side of the neck. I love this version. And the butt is a nice placeholder for our hand. It keeps it in place. Keeps everything grounded and rooted here. It's really nice when our body can help us feel grounded in the shape. And then we can let gravity do the rest of the work. Sinking in, dropping into the skeleton, and letting the muscles soften. Just connect with that sense of rootedness here now. Soften jaw. Soften the right leg if it's clenching. Sometimes that opposite leg wants to do some work, so see if you can release. Very good. And now very, very slowly and mindfully, your last inhale here. Be with it. And on your exhale, begin to push into that left arm to lift your torso up. Release that hand if you have it under your bum. And just soften the legs and take a moment. So bring the legs in a little bit. And notice any after effects there. Good. Blinking eyes open. And we're going to set up those blocks again in that step, but a much easier posture this time. So we have the blocks. Actually, no, we're going to use the blocks for our arms or legs. So let's bring the blocks out and bring the bolster to support your back. And you may want the blanket for your head or your neck, so you can place that at the top of the bolster. And then we come back with our hips, the low back at the bolster. And we make our way down for a chest opener. And here we can use the blocks under the arms for some support if our arms do not want to make the way to the floor today. They can be there for support. So this is option one for you, using the blocks under the arms. If your arms want to meet the floor today, and then you can bring the blocks down for the knees and bring your legs out in butterfly if you like that option. So that's another option for you. Couple of takes here. The arms can also be in cactus. So we're enjoying a little chest opening here. Once again, connecting with the heart meridian here. Running through the arms down to the pinky. And also opening the inner thighs and into the groin here if you have legs in butterfly. But by all means, have your legs extended long if you like. You can also place the blocks under the knees if that feels nice on your legs, like so. That's actually quite nice. So I'm going to take that version today. Supporting behind the back of the legs. And now drop into this very open shape, which can feel a little vulnerable, right? We're opening the front body here, and it's a big shape. So give yourself time to adapt to this position. And since we're working the heart meridian, perhaps bring into your heart space just anything that you want to accept about yourself today. To meet where it is. Bring that into your heart space. And breathe with that for a few minutes. I'm going to turn down the lights in the studio, so stay with your shape, stay with the breath. about halfway through. See if you can sense into this line of energy, as subtle as it is, that runs from the inner armpit down the arm to the pinkies. And breath continues to move like water, fluid. We're just about done. Last inhale here. Perhaps a little deeper than the last inhale you had, and then exhale. Begin to roll to one side, to shift off the bolster. Come down to your backs. Just shift the props out of the way. Make your way down to your backs. Have a block at the ready. You can also use your bolster, but the block is a little easier to move, so have a block at your side. But let's just settle down for a moment. Notice any residual from that last posture. Notice the neck, the spine, the shoulders. Feels nice when we settle back into our bodies without any support, just noticing. Good. Now let's bend both knees, feet meet the floor. Press into the feet and push that block under your sacrum. So not your low back, but that lower bony bit right between your bum. Triangular bone right at the very base. And notice how that feels under the pelvis here. It usually feels quite supportive, quite nice. And now we're going to either stay here with knees bent. You can also widen the feet and bring the knees together. See how that feels in your body. Or you can lengthen one or both legs. So let's just try with one leg, extending left leg. Notice how that feels in the front of the hip, in the low back. And then the other leg, and once again, notice how that feels in the low back, especially. And if there's any pinchy stuff happening, then bend one knee again, and we'll take one leg at a time. So your choice to take both legs or one, and I'll cue you halfway through. And then we can also bring the arms as an option overhead or in cactus. So really your choice here. Or you can keep them down by your side. So if you're just extending the one leg. We'll switch out after a minute or so here. Feel that breath and the front body. Really, really easy to connect with that movement here in the ribs and low belly. Be with that for a few counts. Good. And if you have just one leg extended, then first bend that knee again, planting that foot on the mat and having both knees bent, and then extend the opposite leg. About halfway through. Now see if you can bring your attention to the breath moving in the sides. Ribs moving out to the side with every inhale. And maybe in the back. It's a little harder to sense into that breath in the back ribs. Just notice any subtle movement. Final inhale here. On your exhale, slowly bend one or both knees. Really slowly coming out of this shape. It's a lot on the spine, so slowly. Feet meet mat, slide your arms back down. Pause. Push into your feet. Lift hips, remove the blocks, settle that low back, pelvis back to the mat. And just feel that spreading of the low back and the sacrum on the mat now. It may feel sensitive after that posture. Make little fists with your hands and tuck them under your low back here in that little hollow between your ribs and the back of your hips. And just a little shifting, very micro movements here of the knees, left and right. Not big shifts, just little ones, massaging into that space. Again, may feel tender after that pose. This is where our kidneys and adrenal organs sit. Take a few breaths as you massage. Release the hands. Allow the back to neutralize. Bring your arms into cactus. We're just going to do our little check-in before Shavasana. So keeping your feet on the mat here. Backs of the hands and arms are on the floor. Lift the hands up. Rotating hands down to the floor. Noticing if your range of motion has shifted. Lift hands up. Back of the hands down. Maybe one more time. It's rotating through the shoulder joint here. Back up. Mind feel more open for sure. And a little left and right with the head. Just looking left and right, noticing the neck. Any shifts there. Good. More space. And now hands down to the hip points one more time on the front of the hips here. Little shifts, rotating that pelvis forward, arching back, and then rolling through, flattening back. Noticing how the hips are moving. Inhale, tilting pelvis forward, arching back. And exhale, rolling pelvis, low back, pushes gently on the mat. Very nice. Come back to neutral. Extend arms out at the side, legs out long, maybe covering up with a blanket for Shavasana. And I'm going to start some music for a couple of minutes here in our Shavasana. So get really nice and comfy here. Hopefully we're not in a rush. I'm probably a couple of minutes over. Just allow yourself to get nice and comfy. Really settling into your own space. Love the modification there, Linda. Nice and comfy, restorative for the legs. Give yourself permission to fully sink into this shape. Not rushing our time in this final yin posture. Everything drops, the muscles, the bones, and the mind softens. And perhaps release the jaw so the teeth can part. And enjoy your Shavasana. come back. Appreciating the stillness, the space, the calm that you're feeling in this moment. Seal that in. Just take that in for another breath. And then begin to make small movements as your breath deepens. Maybe turning head side to side, rolling around the hands and the feet. And when you're ready, roll over to your side. Take a breath or two in fetal. Pushing up into a seat, so we may close our class together. And when you arrive, bringing your hands in front of your heart space, in prayer, Anjali Mudra, taking a deep breath and a moment of gratitude for yourself, for the practice, and for one another coming together in community. I wish you a very beautiful day. Namaste.